So a little bit about my background. I've been with the state wellness program since 2006. Back then, EBUC EBD we were actually an agency EBC, and in 2012 they merged, and so all under OMES. And at first, I just did health coaching, but over the years, obviously, a lot more changes have happened. Um, so I've done things like I actually taught in higher ed before I came to work for the state, and I love working in the field that I taught about, and been involved somewhat with public health. I've been part of OPHA and um, still collaborate with Karen Leinbach at the main office in Oklahoma City. We meet monthly. So when your program has to cover 32,000 plus employees all over the state, I need help because it's just me, and now I've got another employee. Finally got to hire somebody 4 months ago. But yes, collaboration is huge whenever it's just you. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about, she had asked me to talk actually about several things, and so I'm trying to wrap it all up into one. So I like to talk about being a teacher. I like to lay a foundation, and so I like to go back to when it all started in 1633. That was when the concept actually began about worksite wellness. Then in the 1870s, Thomas Edison was perfecting the light bulb at that time, and there was a quiet revolution going on in the workplace. The thought about taking care of our employees, taking care of your employees, and it just simmered there for a while, and for a century, and then it started back and it went into corporate wellness, and so anyway, then in the 1950s, that's when the employees' mental health started to be thought about, and that's when you have employee assistance programs that started. And then Johnson and Johnson, they just they were kind of the ringleaders of pushing it forward, seeing an evolution of worksite wellness. They began in the 1970s, actually. And so it included the questionnaire and physical assessments. Um, that was the main purpose, is you've got to find out about your employees. You got to find out their health status, number one. That's when the health risk assessment started. And then also you got to find out maybe what their interests are, because as health educators, it's like, okay, we know where the health issues are, but we still have to, even in public health, we still have to ask them, is it, we got to find out what you want as well. So most of the program was about weight control, nutrition, and stress management. Those are three kind of main things. But they started looking at how and why you would do this is reducing costs, healthcare costs and the claims being paid. And so, and they also found out that when you have a worksite wellness program, that attracted top talent. And so that was, but the focus back then was on the bottom line for sure. So a different approach, whenever it started getting into academic and major journals like the Journal of Occupational Environmental Medicine, those that had wellness programs actually outperformed, a lot of the largest companies, and that was what people started to go, oh, wonder how that could happen. And so they found out these companies could be performing better, and when employees feel healthy and valued. So Limeade is still around. They actually did a study, and they felt like employees felt valued whenever you had an employee wellness program, and that it showed the employees felt like that their employers cared about them. And so that's a huge deal when it comes to it because, you know, 150 years have passed, when this has happened. And so um, they're getting more and more. I mean, they have evolved. Like I know the state's wellness program, I follow 8 areas of wellness, that it's not just exercise, nutrition, or your weight and stress. It is a little more than that. And so we're still trying to answer the same question: how do employees bring their full potential to work? And that means you're not going to work good if you don't feel good. And so there's plenty of evidence showing that, we can't concentrate on one element of health and well-being for the person's success. It's got to be the whole person. And so why does it matter? Why does corporate wellness matter? Well, in the beginning, I told you it was more about the return on investment. We spent dollars here, then health savings, from healthcare claims and stuff. But then it has shifted now to VOI, and that's the value of investment. When you value your employees and invest in a wellness program, then they feel valued and they're going to feel better, number one, on the job. They're going to be more present and more productive. So many employees spend the majority of their time at the workplace. Think about that, how many hours you spend at the workplace. And so it should matter to the company. Anyway, even when they've shown that they've saved money, it's more about they found out the cost of presenteeism. Does anybody know what that means? It means when you're at work, but you're not at work. You're not producing. I mean, you're there, your body's there, but you're not really engaged into it and not putting your whole self into it. So corporate wellness programs can go a long way in creating a supportive and enthusiastic atmosphere at work, for sure. Because when everybody's engaged, you're on the road to having a more healthy lifestyle. So she asked me to talk about this subject. And the reason I'm glad to do this is because we're talking in the post-pandemic era. So when the pandemic happened, I and the state employee, the EAP program manager, for a year and a half, weekly, we met with employees. Not only because the shift of I'm lonely, we're not around our people that we work with, then being afraid of going through the pandemic. So we were trying to help them manage that as well. Stress management is kind of my specialty area. And so I would lead them through relaxation techniques and try to keep them centered and stuff. So anyway, but then guess what? What was it last August? Everybody had to return to the office. So now I've had to talk about what's going on mentally with everybody having to go back in the office. Isn't that funny that it was just so totally opposite, from what it was in the pandemic? And so it really has impacted employee morale. It really has. And so people feel like they've lost flexibility, and it's just been tough. But one positive thing, reducing isolation. I actually went to a conference last April, and the whole theme was about loneliness. And I don't think people understood how that part of that working from home was they were lonely and they didn't realize. Yeah. And so they didn't realize how it was affecting them. And so, but moving back into the office, the bottom line is it improves collaboration and teamwork. I don't care what you say, you cannot look people in the eye. It's in your DNA to look people in the eye. And people would be in Teams meetings and they would not have their thing on. So you had no idea if they were working. You know what I'm saying? And so it just wasn't for real. And it just, that teamwork was just not there. And I've heard it time and time again from people. We're talking about post-pandemic and then, how people worked. And now coming back, people are upset having to go back, but there is improved collaboration and teamwork, in that there's something about the face-to-face communication, the benefits from that people don't understand. And but it also reinforces your company culture or your agency culture, say company culture. Um, it can reinforce the company values again, strengthen communication channels, and just building that sense of community, that stronger sense of community when we're back in the office the way it was. Because I know people, I talked to them, I was like, but I have this and this and this and this. In fact, I said, well, what about pre-pandemic? What'd you do?
Right.
And so it's like I had to go back to pre-pandemic. What'd you have to do? So anyway, but ways to boost employee morale is, your wellness programs actually can do a lot to boost morale. And so, employees, again, you're going to hear me say it over and over. Employees feel valued when you have a wellness program. And so we started piloting the Calm app, and how many people commented they appreciated that the state cared about how they were going through stress. That was some of the comments, that they would pay for us to have Calm, so that they could help reduce their stress. I had some people say I hadn't slept all night, and probably since the pandemic, and then that they were sleeping all night now. But listening to the stories, they have bedtime stories that they read, Matthew McConaughey even does one. So anyway, but they feel supported, and they feel like their health's prioritized. They're more engaged, productive, and loyal to the company. And having Worksite Wellness programs helps reduce stress and burnout. A lot of us are working with less people now. And so, the wellness program used to be a team of 4. And then since 2020, it was just me. And then I got to hire somebody last April. So many stress programs often include stress management techniques, mental health support. All of that helps prevent burnout. It's the bottom line. And when you are not burned out, you're happier on your job. So the outcomes, not only if you take care of the whole person, and again, stress, up to 95% of doctor visits is due to the effect of stress. And so World Health Organization called it in 21st century the next epidemic. So anyway, improved physical health, enhanced teamwork, social connections, programs that encourage healthy habits like exercises and healthy eating can lead to better physical health, which can positively affect mood, energy levels, and boosting morale. Now, can this be used in a community? Absolutely. Everything I'm talking about today can be transferred, because, community health, I taught community health, and I realized, community health, communities are intact groups. Well, my community is state employees. And so this can be, because our health status, guys, you've heard the latest statistics on that. I believe that we've got to do something about that. And we've got to get people healthy. We've got to get them engaged with each other. Like I said, I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing to improve that with our programming. And so here in a minute, I'll talk about that. You want to have not just individual things. Like I do Am I Hungry training class. It's an 8-week, for about 45 minutes, one time a week. And it's not a diet. I don't have you weigh. I don't have you take measurements, anything like that. I don't have you keep a food journal, nothing, because it is about helping you get back to being an instinctive eater. In other words, the title of the program, Am I Hungry, is if you feel like eating something, we just have you first pause. Ask yourself, am I hungry? If you're really not hungry, then we give you tools, teach you how to figure out what's going on. Whether it's stress eating, whether it was just a trigger, walking into the break room and having all these donuts and desserts out there, and you may not have even been hungry, but all of a sudden, so just figuring where it gets you back in charge. So that's kind of a one-on-one. I mean, it's a group, but everybody has the book and the journal. And so it is on their own. But then we just started 4 weeks ago, what we call a game night, when we picked a restaurant that had lots of room, had a big place to do it. And we're getting people to do board games, card games, just increasing that social, and you're meeting people from different agencies. And, I'm saying it's just been one of the best things that we could do. I do a lot of recreation leagues, softball, tennis, pickleball's growing like crazy, even axe throwing. And so we just started that. But you would be, we had 20 people participate from different agencies. I actually coach a basketball team that is made up of everybody's from different agencies, but they wanted to play, but they couldn't get a team together. So anyway, I've collaborated. We've got agencies that have team. Anyway, it's just all of that, trying to do this together. You got to have activities that bring people together. Okay. Like a group walking challenge even. And so I'm challenging agencies in October, because it's National Walking Month, to do a group walk challenge. So anyway, just getting them to do something together is huge. And so recreation leagues, that's a good way to do that. When you do that, you just have more camaraderie, and that's what we've missed when we work from home, is we just miss that camaraderie that we have in the office. So anyway, when you get rid of the stress and the burnout, which to me, recreation leagues covers 3 things. It helps with stress, it helps with you get physical activity, and then the social health aspect of it. So when you do things, it increases productivity. When you lower the burnout, it increases productivity and engagement, and then obviously lowers absenteeism and presenteeism, which again lowers healthcare costs, bottom line. So, how many in here have a degree in health promotion or public health? Oh, Joe. So this is good, because this is what they learned. This is part of their stuff. I used to teach this as well. So if you wanted to start and you wanted to do a wellness program, and again, you take this from the community of work and put it into your public health. So this is the 4 basic steps, which I'm going to build on, that you do a program. The reason you have to do all these things is you don't want to do programming if it's not what they need or not what they want. And then you've just wasted a lot of money on that. So you assess, in other words, collect data, do surveys, you plan the program, then you figure out how to implement it, and then you have to evaluate, which you'll learn evaluation should be started in the planning part as well. So data collection, it helps identify the needs or the problems. It helps set priorities for the program. One thing that we learned was the pre-seed, proceed. It helps you see where the biggest need is. And so you want to start your programming where the biggest need is. And so it's a journey, and so that's why you have to look at this as a long process, and it's worth it, because it's going to be more effective in helping people, number one, but also the leadership is going to go, yeah, and give you the funding for it and stuff. So what you're going to find is, like I said, it helps prevent the waste of resources. And so service needs, the leaders know the population need to resolve the problem or make a change. So I would say even our federal leaders, on the federal level, state level, they all know Oklahoma's got some needs for sure. And they see where we are specifically in need. And it's the same thing with Worksite Wellness. When I first went to work for the state in the wellness program, they had done a year-long pilot. And so, but the assessment showed that 30% of the employees had heart disease and or diabetes. And this was the workforce. 30% were like in the pre-stage. You know what I'm saying? Their numbers were up there, but they hadn't quite tipped over into having the diagnosis. And then 30% actually had family history, and then 30% were okay, didn't have either. And so that was a big challenge, guys, when we first started. And so anyway, that's what the leadership wants to know. And they knew, even the Governor Henry knew that this was a big problem with our workforce. So, the governor, honestly, is our CEO for state employees. He is over the state employees. So, and then the service demands, and that's what the people feel like they need. Okay, you have to look at that. Because again, if you don't have anything that they're really interested in, they're not going to participate. So when you do assessment, there's a couple ways. Sorry. There's ways to collect data. One, primary is where you collect it with your own surveys first. Okay, like a health risk assessment, and then you do a wants and interest survey. And so then you have secondary data, which is where you've looked at a program that has been successful. You look at programs that have had this kind of programming and you've seen that they're successful. So secondary data is other sources. The thing is about primary is you get right now direct answers, what's going on. Secondary, it's advantageous because it saves time and money, but it might not identify your population's need. All right, so once you've collected the data, then it's time to do something with it. So you start planning. From that, you've determined maybe what the top 2 needs are. You then start to do your goals and objectives, and then what's the appropriate steps to get to that goal, to attain that goal. And during that time, you have to identify what resources you have, what kind of monies, what kind of space do you have to do your programming. But also, evaluation has to start in the planning stage. So you might even write a mission statement. I know with Thrive, our mission statement is that every employee will reach their well-being, enhance their well-being, that the program will help them enhance their well-being. I want to go a step further, and I hope this catches on, because every time I talk about it, I'm trying to get people to go, okay, we can be the healthiest state workforce in the nation. And I said that my vision, which I'm going to talk about in the latter part of what I'm talking about today, I'm going to talk about the dream. And my dream vision is that we become the healthiest state workforce in the nation, state government workforce. So your objectives kind of get you how you're going to do. It's more specific, it's realistic, it's quantifiable. It's just more concise. And so who's going to be affected and maybe by when, and what change is going to happen as a result of the program. So, but the resources are like your personnel. Do you have somebody that's going to be able to do this? Your program materials, equipment and supplies, financial resources, definitely a lot. I know a lot in public health, it's grant monies, you know what I'm saying? And then will you have community partners? And a lot of them, I like that they mentioned community partners for sure. So developing the program, the things, your needs need to be really defined. Like I said, it sharpens thinking about your program's goals and objectives. Your stakeholder questions, they need to be answered, because people that are the money people or the contributor, your other people that's going to join you, they're going to want to know about this. Making sure that you have the budget in order to do the program.
Do you have to have money to implement some of the wellness activities? Because I heard you talk about like having a basketball team and stuff like that. Because I don't know, I'm District 2, and I know our money is kind of limited. in our area as far as funding things. Is there ways, I mean, and in my mind, I'm thinking I can implement some of the stuff in the community without a budget. So when you talk about money, what specific things are you targeting for the finance?
Well, and again, part of that planning process is defining how much money you have. But the state does not, our program doesn't pay for any of the rec leagues. My salary is the only thing that's considered in there because I'm paid to do wellness. I'm the liaison, so I set it all up, but the employees pay for it themselves. Nothing is free, you know what I'm saying? They know they have to pay. It's not ever very expensive. Bowling is probably our most expensive, but that's a 10-week long program. Yeah, we've got a lot of rec leagues. Bowling was our very first one. But yes, as much as you can, like really, the only program that really costs is the Am I Hungry? Because Thrive covers the book and the journal for people. And so Calm, yes, I had to see if I have the budget for that. But most of what we do, it's just our salary, and we do all the planning, and we just implement it and do it. So again, if I could had the time to try to reach out and find grant money, I would love to do that. But you know, and I keep asking for more budget money every year because I'd like to get with Workday. I'd like to get a program where people could earn points and then get, you know, a gift card or something. Yeah. And so I've asked for that, but we'll see. But a stress management program, like I'm actually developing a new stress management program where Calm will be part of it. And so that'll be one thing, you know, that people, if they sign up, will be able to utilize and stuff. But I taught stress management. I did my dissertation on stress. So I'm really, that's my content. That's my bag, my jam. So anyway, but yeah, you don't have to have funds. It's just, again, collaboration, finding partners, you know, and try to find and this was another thing that I wanted to do, and still may do, is to reach out to colleges, universities, to see if we could get them to manage some rec leagues in that area. Because I've got people wanting this, but I can't go down and do it. And so it's a win-win because, again, just trying to reach out and we got to be creative and like, who can we get to help us and where it won't cost. And so that's a win-win because then the kids get credit, you know, for a credit just to run a few rec leagues.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the activities. So then you want to implement it. You got to decide whether you're going to pilot it. And that's what we did with Calm. We only bought 300 licenses. And just to see how many, well, I had 1,700 people sign up. So the first 300 got the licenses. But then I vetted it and found out some people just signed up and they didn't know what it was. So I vetted it and I said, well, then you really don't need in this program if you don't know what it is. So, and that was a little work, you know, little time work. There's ways to get things done. And so we just evaluated it. So why you might pilot it is because you can tell what activities work. Like we piloted the games, board games and stuff that night. We piloted it for 4 weeks and we did a little evaluation after it and everybody contributed and yeah, they liked it. So we're going to continue on. So what we want to do is eventually get that all over the state. Because people loved it. It just reminded me of when I was younger and my husband and I would have people over to play cards and, you know, I mean, we just connected back then. So sometimes you can phase it in, but you also need to see, well, was that a good place for us to host the game night? You know, the place, the logistics, the time, you know, and you just have to, again, evaluate, ask the participants. And we did, it was just a little quick survey, not did it change your life? Anything? It was just like, what'd you think about this? Do you like this? And that's kind of, you'll figure out as part of the process evaluation that you should start. And that's why I said you need to think about that. The process evaluation is if you especially phase it in and stuff, you have to ask them, how did it work? Was this a good room? Where the temperature is good? You know what I'm saying? It was just, you got to ask them the questions. So you can pilot, like I said, and then phase in different parts of the pilot. And so like with the OK Health program, they piloted it for 1 year with DHS employees. And so then it was successful, and we went all out after that. But some people just do a total implementation. And that was the way OK Health was. I mean, they piloted it, but it was after that, it was total implementation. And so the rec leagues, where I'm having to find out, we're now trying to get some things over in Tulsa. I keep thinking, if I could hire somebody to be over in Tulsa, and if there's OMES employees over there, that they could office over there and then take care of that area. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of be something I'm thinking about. You know, sometimes it's good to create a timetable when you're going to do the marketing for the program, and when you're going to start, which ones you're going to pick first to start if you're doing classes and those kind of things. So you've probably heard of a Gantt chart, which is just, you go down monthly and then weekly what you're going to do that week and that stuff within that month, you know, how you're going to implement it. So the final step is your evaluation. We just did an evaluation on the Calm app and received some very valuable information that helps you make decisions for the future, whether you need to change up things, whether or not it was successful. It gives you the strengths of your program, but also the limitations as well. It helps identify weak elements so that you can, again, maybe, oh, I liked what she said today. Just start over, you know, just re-enter. And then we're going to go with something else and or define where those weak elements are and how we can strengthen them. So it gives a variety of perspectives from the implementation process. So 3 major reasons to evaluate. Number 1, I said, is improve the program to demonstrate the value of the program. You get feedback from participants. That's the major thing, is you want to find out from the people what they thought about it. And so it can give evidence that a program results were valuable, especially when budget cuts are happening, being required. And, you know, are we effectively equipping the people to carry out their roles? You know, we want them to change critical behavior, have critical behavior change. And so anyway, how it affects business. Did the recipients benefit or make a change? Did they have the right resources? You know, this is where that process evaluation and formative happens. Did it have an impact? So formative is also known as process. And so that makes sense that it's forming the program. So you can check out whether or not the room or the space was good. Did you have the right money? Did you have the correct teachers maybe leading a program? Like, you don't want to get somebody teaching yoga who's never done it before. You know what I'm saying? And so it looks for operations of the, you know, for program improvement. Did the materials work, content working? So like the books and journal from Am I Hungry is very effective. That program was developed by a medical doctor, Dr. Michelle May. Is it going as planned? Did you intend for this to happen? So, you know, this kind of thing is what your management needs to know. So to make sure the support is still there. When you do a process and formative evaluation, that's good, because then they can see where their money is going. Is it working right? And so process, it helps explain the causes of a program's strengths and weaknesses. It guides modifications needed to improve the program, and can be achieved by just being there Like at the game night, I know Ryan, my assistant, he'd walk around and we would talk, and of course, whenever I'm there participating, I'm of course asking people, well, who do you work for? Do you know about Thrive? And, those kind of things. And so that, or you can ask the people. You can even interview participants. You know what I'm saying? And as far as collecting data, some of it can be one-on-one interviews or a focus group, or what I'm saying, just stuff like that. Just getting feedback is huge. And we did ask those kind of questions in our evaluation of the games night. So the summative, that's the programs. Did we meet our predetermined goals and objectives? It assesses the effectiveness of the program on that target population. And you want to make sure what your programs are doing is that it's effective for that particular population. You know what I'm saying? And so like you don't want to have a program that it means nothing to the population that you're at. They wouldn't enjoy it. They wouldn't participate. And so it's usually quantitative, which means it's numbers, and it's carried out on 2 levels, impact and outcome. So the impact is the immediate. You're looking at immediate changes or short-term observable effects of the program. So this one's the one that determines if your objectives are met. It's indicated by change in knowledge, attitudes, beliefs, and skill development. So like if you're teaching somebody how, well, like for instance, the Am I Hungry program, I now have this group because we would do it through Teams, and the chat is still going on, and they're helping each other. They're collaborating with each other now. So wow, that was even more unexpected stuff. So I'm going to start an actual group where that can continue on, because our meetings, are over, and so those will go away. But I'm going to start a group and let it keep going. And so, yeah, they develop skills. It could be learning to exercise. It could be learning, some nutritional things. I mean, there's whatever your program is going to be. Did they develop a skill that you wanted them to learn? And so I know that the city county health department has a total wellness program, and it's led by licensed dietitians. Well, they do have people weigh, but they also do blood work. And then they really changed it up, because now they're adding, in fact, one of the instructors actually took the Am I Hungry class, and I'm sure she's going to use part of that in the new programming. So anyway, and that's total good. Attitudes about exercise. Sometimes you get people just, and I will tell you, in 2013, I started an on-site immunization program where we partnered with DHS as hosted most of it, but we invited all the agencies in the counties. We did like 18,000 people. We saw 18,000 people that, and that included their families, everybody that was covered under their insurance. And so the attitude of people that have, well, I'd say certain gender, maybe, how many people said, because I would ask, who's your primary care doctor? I don't have one. And this man was well in his 50s and not going to the doctor. And so I'm like, okay, how can we change beliefs about going to the doctor? Getting that secondary, there's primary prevention, secondary, getting people to get the screenings and stuff. So that's what we're talking about, attitudes about walking or even participating in anything. What you're wanting to know about, nutrition even. But anyway, that's what you're looking for. See if there's some attitude changes. See if there's beliefs change, that they feel like, hey, yeah, I also do a lot of presentation on brain health. I'm really following neuroscientists and stuff now, and knowing little tweakings Did you know that these lifestyles affect brain? Number one, sleep. If I could get, you know, how many people, it's almost like a badge. I don't get much sleep. That's the primary thing that can help prevent Alzheimer's, because in your brain at night when you sleep, your glial cells go in like a dishwasher and just clean out all the toxins, including the plaque, amyloid plaque. So getting people to believe that sleep's very important for them, eating clean, cutting out the processed foods, you know what I'm saying? Those kind of things is what you have to work on as far as beliefs about stuff and their health. So the outcome looks at the ultimate effects or the long-term changes that came as a result of the program. That's the outcome. And so it's on down a ways. Did even your community where you're at, are there more people that are still going to exercise? Or are they going to community things? Are they, you know what I'm saying? Those are the kind of things you look at on down the road, not immediate, but the outcome later. Were your program goals achieved? Sure. So then we've got a report. Obviously, if you know, especially if you have grant money, you've you've got to have the reports. You know, was the money spent where it was? Was it programming? Did it cover where you said you were going to spend this money? Those kind of things. You want them early and maybe even weekly or monthly. Again, the purpose is to provide feedback, especially to those that fund your program. And you've got to be able to write them differently for your audience, like for the participants, for leadership, and then your funding sources. You know, each one's going to have a different specificity in it. And so important to do it. Now, the reasons why people don't evaluate is they confuse evaluation with research. It's for improving your program. It's not to show, you know, highlight the failures. Even though some programs didn't work, it's still, you did the programming and you had to see if it worked. Okay. But sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. They're unsure of skills, how to articulate it. Does it seem too complicated to report on this? And sometimes people don't understand why. Why evaluate? You know, they don't know. They're not sure what they should be evaluating sometimes. So they also are afraid of exposing the weaknesses. Maybe we didn't plan correctly. Maybe we forgot to do the process or formative evaluations. And so they feel like they might lose their job. Definitely me, if I've asked for money for programming and it didn't work, of course I'd be afraid of losing my job. So sometimes they're so afraid they'll fabricate results. And a lot of times we don't budget for it. In when we're setting our budget for our program, we 15% actually should be about evaluation. So, and what it's there to show you is if it was not organized properly. It's like you just got to do it, see what happens, you know. And again, I told you early on in the planning stages, you've got to plan for evaluation in the planning stages. So, all right. So establishing goals. This is how much time do you still have? Okay. I actually got this from a sports psychologist. In graduate school, I actually got into sports psychology. And then when I graduated, they actually at ASP, which is the Association of Sports Psychology, started having and using these mental skills in health. Exactly, health. I mean, there was presentations about health programs. So there's 5 Ds of successful goal setting. Dream, develop, daily, dignity, dynamics with those involved. Now, when I tell you guys this, when I talk about it, I want you to think of it personally first, and then how could you do that with your program? A dream. I've already told you what my dream is, to have the healthiest state employee workforce in the nation. That's my dream goal. Okay, so I'm dreaming big.
What's the biggest challenge for that, Dale? It's just, what is your biggest challenge for that, Dale?
Um, because state employees are all over the state, it's reaching out. It's the biggest thing. And I know that whenever I was doing the on-site vaccines, we had contacted Wilburton because we went everywhere across the state. And they were like, well, the state never comes down here. So their belief, I'm saying that the state government up there would do anything. So that's the biggest thing is just the strategically across the state. But during the pandemic, I had somebody now even from Idabel that was able to do the Am I Hungry program. So anything that we can do digitally, that's been a big help. But now again, it's directly, it's getting people moving. It's the biggest thing. So, Travel OK is going to be doing a New Year's Day, and they call it First Day Hikes, and they're doing it in state parks all across Oklahoma. And so my goal is to just see how many people. I would love to see 1,000 people go from all over the state on that first day. So I'm working my way up towards it. I'm talking about it. I'm trying to get people to pick up what I said. Let's be the healthiest workforce in the nation. I said, I want you to start claiming that. It's kind of like claiming it, you know what I'm saying? Just because your brain starts to change whenever we start saying things. So it's a place to start. Now think of yourself personally. What would be a dream goal that you would have personally? When you dream, it removes self-imposed limitations. Because I have to. When I think about that, I have to think about even what I'm wanting to personally. I'm 70 and I'm in pretty good shape. And so, like, one thing we started this year was dragon boat racing. It's at the river sport.
That's fun.
You've done it.
I've done it.
Anyway, yeah, who'd have thought that I'm there with these younger people that work for OESC, Oklahoma Employment Security. And I mean, we're going. We have a coach that is an Olympic kayaker. He was on the U.S. Olympic team. And he's been great at teaching us how to do this. Not only is it good physically, it's one of the best workouts I've ever had, but we've stayed together as a team. I mean, we went to River Sport because you get a membership. So we went down the whitewater rafting thing, in a tube, and then we went tubing, and we just met and did that together. So we're sticking together as a team. It is one of the best team building things you could ever do. So anyway, do I have a dream goal personally? Yes, I do. And part of that was to make sure I lived to, half my life in one century and half my life in the other, because I was born in 54. So that's a big thing, but it's quality of life. Nobody wants to live long if you don't have quality of life. So, then you have to believe with your whole heart that you're capable of achieving it. I do believe we could become the healthiest state workforce in the nation. I do. I believe that. I'm trying not to look at the limitations. I'm going to try to figure out how we can overcome that. And it's the same thing. You have to believe with your whole heart that you are able to achieve that goal. And I do. I'm trying my best to stay healthy, to eat clean, less processed food, do some good stuff for the brain. All right, let me get going. Daily is what you need to do every day. Now that you know what the dream is, decide on your areas of improvement. Set a target date for each little level. Okay. I know I'm not going to achieve that vision, that dream goal next year. but I could have stepping stones. What am I going to do daily to achieve that? And again, think of that not only where you work, your community, but think about yourself personally. This is kind of for both. You need to monitor yourself, keep track kind of things. Um, this is what helps you ensure you're on your path. Daily, did I say that? That was development. I got that out of daily is what you do daily. Okay. You got to do something every day. And if it's you're not a walker, it's just making sure you get up every hour. I say this all the time, get up every hour from your desk. Our desk jobs are killing us. Okay. I lead people. One program I do again is I lead people through stretches 6 times a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's 9:30 in the morning. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is the afternoon at 2:30. Well, I've since learned how to do ergonomic assessments, and the stretches that they taught us in that I already did. And so I lead people through stretches from the head, the hands, trying to prevent carpal tunnel, everything. So it is something that I try to get people to do daily is to stand up every hour, just move a couple minutes. Okay, just a couple minutes. That's it. You'd be surprised at how much health advantage there is to that. Set goals the night before for the next day. What am I going to try to do? Just it's like do one thing every day towards that goal, even if it's minute. Just do something every day towards that goal. Review your progress at the end of the day and decide what tomorrow you're going to do. So the dignity, sometimes we have to know our limitations because we are. If you saw the movie Rudy, that little guy that wanted to play football at Notre Dame, he had to. They did get him in one game, but accepting you don't have the right size to play football at Notre Dame. It's sometimes we might be limited financially, we might be limited even physically. I'm saying there's things like that that you have to thinking about a budget for your program. What's my budget? Am I going to, I have that dream goal, but I may not be able to make it if I don't have enough money, I'm saying, or enough staff to reach out and stuff. So you have to look at where you're at, even giving it your best and just enjoy the process. Okay. That's the biggest thing is enjoy the process. Everybody who has goals, even Olympic athletes, they always have support. Always, always, always have support. Okay. You got to tell somebody about your dream. And again, finding people to collaborate with, finding support groups that's going to help you achieve the goals, what you're wanting, not only personally, but in your job, what you're doing. We just need that support from time to time, especially if you're trying to improve your health and your well-being. But also, I say, think of your job, your community. How can we get this going? And who's going to support you to help make your community healthy? All right. Any questions? And I didn't mind you asking questions.
Sorry.
No, you were fine. Any more questions?
I have a comment though. So when you was talking about mental health and how it's important and everything, we got part of the opioid grant. We got some money from the opioid grant, and
Awesome.
we got decided, you know what, we need a mental health room. So we bought stuff that's kind of zen. It's kind of muted colors, relaxing. Got a nice little couch, fluffy couch, some little pillows for the floor. And people, well, we don't have it yet because we're still redoing the health department from the flood. But they're excited. I mean, they cannot wait. And they said, well, how do we, can we start signing up right now? for this. So yeah, I think, and I had been asking for it for years, but it wasn't in the budget. But with that
You know
grant,
what?
we decided to do that.
We did a survey with all employees, and that was one of the things that stood out is we would like to have a mental health room or a relaxation room.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Awesome. All right. That's how you can contact me. And on Thrive, because again, most of y'all are staying in Florida, right? We're on, it's all under OMES, if you search OMES, but we're on Facebook, Instagram, and then I do these Hardy Solutions videos. So they're short, like 5 to 8 minutes max. They're about different topics, like we just did one on the benefits of walking, where we, even talk to employees who go out and walk. And then Ryan, my health, he did the science part about what the health benefits. But before I got my dermatologist to actually do one that is, yeah, he can come on in, on skin cancer prevention, because I'm close with my dermatologist. I've had 4 basal cells removed like in the last year and a half. So I left the sun growing up, no sunscreen whatsoever. And it just, it's family history. So, but anyway, she did that. We've got OBI medical director that talked about the health benefits of donating blood. We've just done a variety. We're getting ready to do a healthy cooking one, because people, the time, they'll tell you, I just don't have time. And so Ryan loves to cook, my assistant. And so we're going to videotape him talking about how to easily do this in a short amount of time. So a lot of variety, all of that. Right now, it's only in the Level Up newsletter, but we're putting it on our website. So it'll be there just housed on the website as well. All right, guys, thank you for attending.